All right, so let's dive into something I think you're going to find pretty interesting. Um, building a rewarding career.
Mm-hmm.
You sent us some really intriguing materials, actually, from RoleCatcher. It's a career development platform.
Okay.
And it zeroes in on this role,
Mm-hmm.
insurance claims manager.
Right.
And our mission today, we're going beyond, those typical job descriptions, right?
Yeah.
We're going to explore not just what this job is, but what it feels like,
Yeah.
the skills you need to succeed,
Yeah.
and even how AI is changing the game for job seekers like you.
It's fun. You know how a title like insurance claims manager can sound like pretty straightforward on paper.
Right.
But when we really dig in here, you'll see it's a lot more dynamic than just, pushing paper.
Okay, dynamic. I love it. Made that picture for me.
Yeah.
What does RoleCatcher say about what really makes this role tick?
Well, the guide emphasizes that this isn't your typical 9 to 5. You're leading a team, you're unraveling these complex cases. It's almost like detective work sometimes, especially when you're dealing with potential fraud.
Wait, hold on. Fraud. Okay, now that adds a whole other layer of intrigue. So it's not just about crunching numbers. You're actually using, like, your sleuthing skills.
Exactly. You need sharp analytical skills to decipher policies, examine evidence, and spot inconsistencies. It's really about connecting the dots that others might miss. One minute you're calming down a distraught customer whose house just caught on fire, and the next you're diving deep into, the fine print of a policy, looking for these clues.
Okay, that's way more engaging than I pictured when I first heard the title. The guide also mentioned this word subrogation. What is that all about?
Good catch. That's one of those industry terms that can seem like a foreign language. Basically, it's when the insurance company goes after a third party who might be actually responsible for a claim to recover costs.
Oh, okay.
So let's say, I don't know, a faulty pipe from your neighbor's apartment floods your place. Subrogation is about pursuing reimbursement from their insurance company.
Ah, so it's like insurance playing Detective A&D, going after justice for their clients.
Precisely. It's about ensuring fairness and recouping costs, which can get pretty intricate. But to your point about diverse skills, it's not just about being analytical.
Right.
RoleCatcher really highlights the importance of top-notch communication, empathy when you're dealing with people in these tough situations, and then leadership to guide your team effectively.
Speaking of teams, let's break down the career ladder here. How do you even become an insurance claims manager? What are the steps along the way?
RoleCatcher does a great job outlining the typical progression. You might start as an insurance claims officer, that's your entry point, where you're learning the ropes, reviewing those claims, gathering documentation, just building your foundation.
Okay, so you're handling those, what do they call them, first-party claims, meaning claims made by the policyholder themselves, right?
You're picking up on the lingo already. Exactly. You're dealing directly with the person insured. As you gain experience, you might move up to senior insurance claims officer where you handle more complex cases, maybe even supervise junior colleagues, and potentially start investigating those intriguing fraud cases.
So you're leveling up, taking on more responsibility, maybe even mentoring others. What comes after that?
Next rung on the ladder is often claims team leader. Now, you're not just managing claims, you're managing people. You're setting goals for your team, ensuring everyone's meeting company standards, and really starting to shape the strategy for how claims are processed.
It sounds like leadership skills become even more crucial at that stage. It's not just about your individual expertise anymore. It's about guiding and motivating a whole team.
Absolutely. And that ties into what RoleCatcher emphasizes about continuous learning. The insurance world is always evolving new regulations, technologies, types of claims. A good claims manager is constantly on top of their game.
So it's not enough to just be a master of what's happening right now. You've got to have your finger on the pulse of the future, too. Speaking of staying ahead of the curve, RoleCatcher really hypes up how their platform uses AI to help job seekers stand out. How does that actually work in practice?
Okay, so AI and job hunting, that's a combo I'm really curious about. It sounds almost too good to be true. Does RoleCatcher give concrete examples of how this works?
They absolutely do. So imagine this. You're polishing your resume, right? But you're not just staring at a blank page like you're used to. You actually plug a job description into RoleCatcher, and their AI goes to work. It highlights key phrases like experience with claims software or, proven negotiation skills. And then it suggests ways you can weave those exact things into your own resume using language that hiring managers love. So it's like having a super smart assistant who knows exactly what those hiring managers are looking for. That's way more targeted than just using some generic resume template.
Right. It takes the guesswork out of tailoring your application to each specific role. And get this, it doesn't stop there. RoleCatcher also has this massive database of interview questions, all categorized by industry and experience level.
Wait, hold on. Are you telling me they have a crystal ball that reveals what they'll ask in the interview?
It's the next best thing. They've analyzed thousands of interviews to identify the most common questions asked for insurance claims manager positions. You can practice your answers, get comfortable talking about your skills, and walk into that interview feeling totally prepared.
Okay, that's huge for anyone who gets those interview jitters, myself included. But let's shift gears for a sec and talk about the day-to-day reality of this career. RoleCatcher mentioned those day-in-the-life examples. What do those actually look like?
They're surprisingly detailed. Let's say you land that entry-level insurance claims officer job. It's 8:30 a.m., you've got your coffee, and bam, a stack of new claims lands on your desk. The first one? A house fire.
Okay, now we're talking. That's a lot more exciting than just saying you review claims. What happens next?
Well, you're combing through the initial report, photos, witness statements, really trying to piece together the story of what happened. You're also verifying coverage, making sure the policy actually covers fire damage, which hopefully it does.
It's like being a detective, but instead of dusting for fingerprints, you're digging through paperwork and policies.
Exactly. And you're also the point person for the policyholder, right? You're answering their questions, guiding them through the process, and maybe even calming their nerves. It can be an emotionally charged time for people, especially after a fire.
I can only imagine. That takes a special kind of empathy and communication skills, for sure. So you've cut your teeth on those first-party claims, maybe even tackled a few fender benders. What happens as you move up to senior insurance claims officer?
That's where things get even more interesting. Remember those third-party claims we talked about? This is where you might dive into those more complex cases. Let's say you're dealing with the slip and fall at a local business. You're not just processing the injured party's claim, you're also considering potential liability for the business owner, investigating the circumstances, and maybe even preparing for litigation if things get messy.
Okay, so the stakes are higher, the cases are more intricate, and there's even the potential for courtroom drama. Now it's starting to feel like a legal thriller.
Right. And because you've got that experience under your belt, you're also likely supervising junior colleagues, mentoring them on trickier claims, and maybe even getting involved in training new hires.
You're sharing that hard-won wisdom, shaping the next generation of insurance sleuths. What about that next step, becoming a claims team leader? What does a typical day look like in that role? So we've gone from, rookie claims officer to the seasoned team leader.
Right.
What's the view like from the top when you are the insurance claims manager?
At that level, it's less about handling those individual claims and really more about the big picture.
Sure.
Imagine a major storm just hit your city.
Okay.
You're not just processing, a single flooded basement. You're coordinating the response for potentially hundreds of claims. It's about resource allocation, strategic decision-making, and making sure your team is equipped to handle that surge.
Wow, talk about pressure. That's where those leadership skills we were talking about really come into play, right? You're not just managing people, you're managing a crisis.
Exactly. You're setting the tone for your entire department, making sure everyone is staying calm, focused, and committed to helping those policyholders through what might be, one of the most stressful times in their lives.
Yeah, it's about being that steady hand at the helm, right?
Yeah.
Guiding the ship through those choppy waters.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be real, that level of responsibility that probably comes with a pretty decent salary, right? RoleCatcher mentioned something about, average earnings.
Yeah, they did. According to their research, an insurance claims manager can earn anywhere from $85,000 to $110,000 per year on average.
Okay.
And keep in mind, that's just the baseline factors like experience, location, maybe even specialization. Those can all bump up your earning potential.
So there's definitely room for growth, both professionally and financially. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive here, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Continuous learning.
Right.
What advice would you give to someone who's serious about not just getting this job, but, thriving in this career long term?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
One thing that they don't always teach you in school is how much the insurance industry relies on networking.
Oh, that's interesting.
So join professional organizations, go to those conferences, connect with people on LinkedIn. Those relationships can be invaluable for staying informed and even finding mentors.
It's about building your own personal board of advisors, right?
Right.
People who can offer that guidance and support as you navigate all those inevitable career twists and turns.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to specialize, right? As you gain that experience, you might find yourself drawn to a specific area like property claims, liability, Even cybersecurity
That's
insurance,
right.
which is a whole other beast these days.
Cybersecurity insurance. That's a deep dive for another day for
Mhm.
sure. We've covered a lot of ground here, from those AI-powered resume tips to navigating, natural disasters.
Lot.
But before we sign off, I want to leave our listener with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, yeah.
We've talked about the skills, the day-to-day tasks, the
Mhm.
potential salary. We even touched on the how using resources like RoleCatcher to gain that edge.
Mhm.
But the most crucial question, the one that'll really guide your journey, is why.
I love that you're ending on that note. It's so important.
Because at the end of the day, a job is so much more than just a paycheck, right? It's about finding that role that truly aligns with your values, your passions, your vision for the future.
For sure.
So ask yourself, why this career? What impact do you really want to make on the world?
When you're driven by that sense of purpose, work becomes more than just a job. It becomes fulfilling, it becomes meaningful, it becomes a part of your life.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the world of insurance claims managers. We hope you found this insightful, intriguing, and maybe even a little bit inspiring. Remember, your dream career is out there waiting for you. Go after it with confidence.